good, everyone, and welcome back to Kaya's Commentary. And if you're new here, welcome to Kaya's Commentary. This is a podcast that offers commentary on pop culture topics, real world issues, anything in between, and maybe even some advice every now and then. Before we get down to it, you can follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at Kaya R. Pennington, and you can follow Kaya's Commentary on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at Kaya's Commentary. Also, be sure to hit that follow/subscribe button and the bell so you get notified when new videos drop. Also, before we kick it off into our first segment, a new setup. I really kind of like it. There are a few kinks to work out, mainly the lighting. So I know you see the kind of the glare of the window in this glasses lens and then the ring light in this glasses lens. Look, y'all, I really hate recording without my glasses, especially when I have notes and I'll be glancing off towards my notes. It's just so much easier to find my spot if I have my glasses on, and I'm terribly afraid of contacts, so I don't even know if I will ever use contacts. But it will be nice. It would be nice to keep my glasses on. So if the glare isn't too bad, we're gonna still try to work out the best way. But if the glare isn't too bad, we're gonna keep it kind of like this. And if it is too distracting, I'll kick it to the side. But with that, this is a new setup, still working our kinks, but I like it so far. Now, let's get into our first segment, Online Discourse, where I give my commentary on a piece of online discourse I've seen. And I really wasn't even going to talk about this. I was actually going to talk about people's lack of social skills in public, like people's complete horror at cashiers daring to talk to them. Like that's what I was going to talk about. I know I've talked about that kind of like several times this concept of hyper individuality and you don't owe anyone anything. We'll save that for next week. The video that inspired me to talk about that might be old news, but I still got some stuff to say, so we'll save that for next week. But a couple days ago, I saw, really yesterday, I think, I saw a video by someone who I would say makes mostly good nuanced takes on TikTok. And I say mostly good because like they're human, so they're not above human error. And not to say that this video was like an error or anything, but I feel like most of the time their takes are pretty good and nuanced. And this take rubbed me a certain way. Like they weren't wrong, but it's like it was sour to me. It was sour. So let's get into it. So Beyonce has been receiving criticism for not talking enough or really at all about what's happening in Palestine and Israel. There's pushback about her allowing the film to play in Israel, and a lot of Israelis have taken to singing "Break My Soul" like it's their anthem. And if you know what that our Renaissance album is about, it's Black queer ballroom things, it's Black liberation. And so there's criticized about whether or not she should have spoken out more and whether or not she should have pushed back more about it being played in Israel. And like I said last week, this isn't a one or the other type thing about sympathy and empathy for the civilians. Like you can have sympathy and empathy for both. However, and I hate to say it this way because I don't want it to seem like a generalization, because that's the problem. People are assuming that if you side with Palestinians, you have this generalization that all Jews, Israeli Jews, are bad. So I don't want to say it like that. But seeing a lot of Israelis post, "Oh, I can't wait till Israel beats Hamas because we're going to get this, we're going to get that." And I know I said last week that I would prefer to call it an Israel-Hamas conflict war, but it goes so much beyond that. The Palestinians are being erased. Their culture, their way of life, the architects, the buildings, all of this stuff is being erased. So it's really no longer that. So when you say things like that and then sing "Break My Soul" like it's your anthem, can come off as tone deaf. So like I said, there's been discourse about whether Beyonce should have spoken out more, whether she should have pushed back more about the film being played in Israel at all. And this isn't even about my discourse isn't even about Beyonce. Like I can only reiterate what others have been saying. Since 2016, she's made a point to put more Black activism into her art. And so when you put that kind of stuff into your art, incorporate it so much into your art that you kind of make it your personality, or you make it like your brand, and it would seem like it would be on brand for you to speak out, and you don't speak out, your silence is going to be criticized. So that would be my sense. This isn't even really about Beyonce. It's about what the creator said, which their points weren't wrong, and I agree to an extent, but also it rubbed me a certain way. Um, so to the creator's point, why are we looking for celebrities to speak out? Now, I'm a firm believer in not standing and idolizing celebrities. When that happens, you stop looking at them as human beings who can have human error, and instead these beings that can't be called out for anything or held accountable for anything, even when they should. So I am a firm believer we don't stand, we don't idolize celebrities. Here's the thing. The creator also pointed out that white celebrities aren't held to these kind of standards when Black Lives Matter or other POC issues are brought up. Yes, but no. Here's the thing. Like I said, don't believe in standing, idolizing celebrities, but why do y'all I'm sorry, I lost my place in my notes. Why do y'all want to do everything that white people do? Like that's my stance. That's my like kind of unpopular opinion stance when people bring that up, that kind of stuff up. Oh, a white person could stage a kidnapping and not get jail time. A white person could drunk drive and kill people and not get jail time. A white person could not speak out about humanitarian issues. So why are Black people and people of color held to that standard? Yes, that's a very real talking point that should be addressed. However, for me, it's the crime itself. It's the morally questionable thing itself. And I guess that talking point to criticize is more about the standard than the actual crime, which is why typically when people pose these kind of questions, I refrain from publicly speaking on it because yes, very real issue. However, it's the crime itself for me. Like it's the crime itself for me. And that talking point can very much be flipped. Like it feels like a blame shift. Like, oh, that white person didn't get judged, so why are you judging this Black person? Like, you could easily flip that to be like, I don't know, R. Kelly. White people do that all the time, and they don't get looked at. So should R. Kelly not be checked, or should everyone be checked? Like, it's a very conflicting thing for me. So I really try not to publicly make a stand on that because it's like yes, but no. But like I said, this creator made that point and the video kind of rubbed me a certain way. But I guess two things can be true at once is the overall message of that. And it's very important to point out that the creator did say that. So they are a person who believes two things can be true at once. Okay, cool. So I can cook with that. I can mess with that. However, with that in mind, like I said, it does feel like a blame shift. Like two things can be true at once. They're both wrong. They're both wrong. Everyone in here should be getting checked, not just it's a real issue that needs to be discussed, but also I've never really got with that. Also, another talking point that the creator said was that Beyonce could stand to lose money by speaking out. Yes, but no. Yes, but no. Like at this point, that's generational wealth. Her kids, her grands, and her great grands, they are all set for life. Unless the stock market crash and they money burn up, like they set for life. But let's just go with that logic for the sake of argument. Um, Under that logic, everyone has things to lose because people in America and other countries have taken a stance that if you're pro-Palestine, you're against Israeli Jews and Jewish people all around. And I'm sure there's anti-Semitic content being floated around in the name of freeing the Palestinians, but that's not the whole case, right? And I honestly actually even get the silence. Reading this book, the Burn It Down book, like I honestly kind of get the silence when you read about all these writers and studio heads who have these very fragile egos and you can't stand up for yourself or for a fellow actor or for your character without getting blacklisted. Yeah, I kind of understand the silence. You have things to lose. However, at what point do you say, okay, this is enough? Like what you're using my character or my message for is not right. And I don't stand and agree with that, especially since Beyonce is someone who's using all these Black activists who would probably most likely be very against what the Israeli government is doing. Stand on that. Like, at what point do you stand on that? Me being someone, like I said, I understand the silence, but me being a very opinionated person, at some point, I'm gonna publicly speak on it because it's like, at what point is enough is enough? So, like, yeah, a lot of people have things to lose. And not to say that this creator was pressuring, quote unquote, other people to speak out and then change their tune when it came to Beyonce. But if other people agree with that stance, that reason for Beyonce not speaking out, that she might have things to lose, why can't you understand that other celebrities or other people, while they might agree with the Palestinians, have things to lose and don't want to speak up? If we're gonna go with that logic. So it was one more thing, it seems like. Oh, their comments. Going into that person's comments and saying all those, yeah, this ain't a black person issue, a black folk issue. Beyonce stand on black folk issues. And even if she don't stand on black folks issues, she don't owe us nothing. She don't owe nobody nothing but her family. This ain't got nothing to do with her. Talk to your politicians, which yeah, of course. Call them up right now. Tell them to stop using my taxpayer dollars to fund the genocide and the erasure of the Gaza people, the Palestinian people, and their culture. Yes, of course. However, and this is really like the sucky part about having fame, you as a billionaire, your voice and most certainly your money might be more influential than mine in stopping something. So again, when you make it your brand to put this kind of activism, human activism into your work, not black activism, but just like human, because the black activism that she's putting in, these were civil rights leaders who fought for human life, black life, of course, at the focus point, but also human life. When you put that kind of stuff into your content, stand on that. These people wouldn't agree with that, and they would probably be standing on that. So, if you're going to do that, stand on it. It's not so weird that people will be looking for her. I don't think we should be looking to celebrities all the time. However, at the same time, celebrities are human too, and this isn't a race issue. This is a humanitarian issue, a human issue. So if I ever made a statement and then I see all these people in the comments who, under any other circumstance, I would be disagreeing with and probably will be publicly calling out, I have to walk that statement back. I would have to walk it back. Maybe I need to go do some self-reflection and further explain what I meant. Like, what's happening in Palestinian and Gaza is wrong. It's wrong. The erasure of those people, their way of life, and their culture is wrong. Posing it as a race issue and not a humanitarian issue is weird to me. And if we're gonna pose it as a race issue, we being our people, like a people as a whole, knowing what it's like to see our culture be watered down, stolen, and erased, or knowing what it's like to see our people be erased, should make you want to stand on that all the more, especially when you're putting this kind of stuff into your art to the point that it's a brand for you. So I don't, this creator, I don't even follow them like that, but I've just seen a lot of good nuanced takes by them, and they're allowed, and I guess everyone is allowed to have that one quote unquote controversial opinion, certainly depending on the controversy and the opinion. But again, if I ever made a statement like this and then see all these, oh, this ain't a black folk issue, this creator seems like the type of person, I've seen them be the type of person to call out the kind of comments in their video, but now it's not. So I just find it weird. Like, it kind of rubbed me a sour way. Beyonce, like any other celebrity, no matter the race, is not above criticism. Now, you can certainly point out the unfair criticism she's receiving, because I've seen a lot of people come for her motherhood and other things, and it's like, stick to the issue. Stick to the issue. Outside of that, if you want to support Beyonce, but don't sit here and act like it's such a weird thing that she's receiving criticism in general. Now, yeah, a certain level of criticism, sure, but criticism in general. And then switch the blame to be like, y'all don't call out white creators. Yes, there is a disadvantage. However, a lot of white creators and celebs are being called out because this is a humanitarian issue and not a race issue. So everything you're talking about, like, I agree to an extent, because like I said, this wasn't even about Beyonce, it's creators talking points. I agree to an extent. However, everything you said could be flipped in a certain way, and I just like, if people are agreeing with your stances on Beyonce, then should they not be understanding of other people who feel like they have things to lose or they don't owe anyone anything? Which y'all already know how I feel about that stupid talking point. But like, should I this creator is not above human error. Not even to say their video was error, because this was a response video to somebody saying something else. So I guess they felt the need to speak on it. But this rubbed me a wrong way. It was a little sour to me. It left a little sour taste in my mouth, and I just think, I agree and I see, I understand to an extent. However, It's a little weird. But that's online discourse. Let's kick it into our next segment, What's on TV, where I give my commentary on a TV show I've seen. Today's show, Apple TV's The Morning Show. So I think it was the Critics' Choice Award that are dropping their nominations, and Nicole Bahari has been nominated for Best Supporting Actress in this show, which she deserves. She deserves to win. I hope she wins. I know I just said that I don't stand celebrities, and I don't. I don't. I stand on that. But the closest thing you're going to get to me standing celebrities are Nicole Bahari and Megan Thee Stallion. Those two women have really earned my respect and admiration. And of course, who am I that they've earned my respect? But they've really earned my respect and admiration. And so you would just have to hit me with a lot of hard facts about them being weird people. Like eventually I would believe you. But you would have to hit me. You can't come up to me and say, oh yeah, she built a hairstylist, but no one else can confirm that. Like, out of here. Like, no. You can't sit here and come to me and say, oh, but she lied when she lied to protect a black person from the cops. Like, you would have to hit me with like hardcore evidence for me to be like, dang, another celebrity lost to being a weirdo. So not standing, but the closest thing you're gonna get to me standing is Nicole Bahari and Megan Thee Stallion. They've earned my respect and admiration. And until proven otherwise, I will participate in near about anything that they have, any project they are working on. So when I heard that Nicole Bahar was going to be in the morning show, which I had kind of wanted to watch when it dropped in 2019, but I didn't have Apple TV. And so I was like, oh well. When I heard she was going to be in it, of course I was going to watch it because she hasn't been in many big things since Sleepy Hollow. It was here and there, Miss Juneteenth, and then here and there. Apple TV's The Morning Show, which is this bigger budget thing, I guess. So of course I was gonna watch it. It was already 2 seasons in. So I started the seasons and well, I'll get to the seasons. So I'm gonna do a very quick recap of season one, a very quick recap of season two. Season three, I took episodes by notes rather than a season as whole. So I'll probably be skipping around in season three just to keep time short. I want it to be no longer than 45, 50 minutes this episode. But I'll still hit the major points of season three, and then I'll give my commentary and we'll move on. So, season one, this is a news show. It's about a news station at UBA. And so you have Alex Levy. She's a female co-host. Mitch Kessler is a male co-host for the morning news on the morning show. Bradley Jackson, she's a anchor that they're going to bring in from another network, another state. Chip, who is Alex's second. Mia, I don't really remember Mia's title, but she back there running game doing something. Hannah, who's very important in season one. Corey, who's important in general. I don't want to say he's CEO, but he's a higher up. Yanko, who is the weatherman, and Daniel, who's the black gay weekend anchor. So Mitch gets the news that he is fired for sexual assault allegations. Season one is about the Me Too movement. Every season they pick like a theme. So season one is the Me Too movement. Mitch gets the news that he's fired for sexual assault allegations by several women in the company and out of the company. Now, Mitch, you think he's a stand-in for like people who do that stuff and then just get off or think that they did no wrong? Yes, but no. Mitch is like, he thinks everything was consensual. Like it he legit thinks, oh, everything you had the opportunity to say no and you didn't say no. He's ignoring the fact that not many people think that they can say no to him. So yes, but no, and I'll get more into that later. Bradley, like I said, another state, another network, she's covering a worker strike. And so there are people pro strike and there are people against the strike. She gets into it with somebody that's against the strike and she's kind of yelling at them. She's like, people are tired, people are overworked and underpaid, and she goes viral. And so the network is like, sis, you are a news anchor, we can't have you just shouting anything. Side note, when we get introduced to Bradley, she and her cameraman are on the way to the story, and she and another cameraman are making fun of the other cameraman in the car because he's being all ooh la-di-da, and they had the opportunity to do the funniest thing and they didn't. So she's like, oh, he got into Harvard and really think he's something. Y'all know what line y'all really could have put in there. Oh, he got into Harvard. What, like it's hard? Like Legally Blonde reference for those that don't get it. Like they had the opportunity to do the funniest thing. I was waiting on it and they didn't do it. But she's covering a strike. She goes viral. And then after she gets fired, they bring her into UBA to talk about her because they're really trying to like avoid all these other news stations that are talking about them and Mitch, and they're trying not to talk about that. And so they bring her in so Alex can interview her. And Alex doesn't really like her. She thinks the whole thing is like staged. She's like, girl, you a news anchor and you shouldn't be running off at the mouth like this, even if that's what you believe is a better way to say it. So Alex doesn't really like Bradley because she's too off at the mouth. She needs to hush. Um, Also, another big thing, like I said, Mitch doesn't think he did anything wrong. So when they're having this meeting, the news station having this meeting about, oh, this is a safe place. We don't condone that. They condoned it. They knew what he was doing, but then he got caught and they got to sit here and act like, but they knew what he was doing. Um, so Mitch goes in there and he's like, no one's gonna stand up for me. You know I didn't do anything wrong, and you've known me for so long. These allegations are bogus, because he thinks everything was consensual. Like you're not gonna, and no one wants to speak up for him. So they basically escort him off the property. Alex is also fighting for a place at the table. All the while the table trying to get rid of her. Corey come in and he's like, yeah, since Mitch is gone and you're older, we need to, because you and Mitch were the selling point, but Mitch is gone. And so Alex is like, I want a seat at the table. And I want to have say in who sits next to that anchor chair with me. And the table is like, no. So at a party that they're giving for her an award, Bradley is there. Corey invites Bradley. He takes special interest in her because he plans to replace Alex with her. Alex brings Bradley up and she's like, this is my new anchor. And she says it publicly. So the table has to back her now. Otherwise, it'll look bad. Daniel, the weekend anchor, he's been fighting for a place at the table too. He's trying to get that role. He's already been filling in. And so he thought he was a shoo-in, and they just keep passing him up for things, as they do. So Alex and Bradley don't really hit it off in season 1 because like she's too talkative. She can't. Bradley drops on air that she had an abortion when she was 15, and so sponsors start pulling sponsorship, and Alex is like, you have to control your mouth, sis. So they don't really hit it off, but they trying to make it work. Like I said, Mitch genuinely thinks he's did nothing wrong, even when confronted, which leads to Hannah's death. So Hannah is an intern, or at least someone that's new. And so they were covering the story in Las Vegas, and she really kind of looked up to Mitch, and then Mitch invited her to his room. It was all fine. It was a little weird, but all fine. And then he gets sexual with her. She felt like she couldn't say no. So when she goes to tell Fred, the person that's like, oh, this is a safe place, even though he knew what he was doing, Fred basically buys her off and promotes her. So Mitch is like, you got promoted for it. And so it was consensual. And Hannah's like, no, I just couldn't say no to you. And when I tried to go tell, I was bought off. So that leads to Hannah overdosing, which is really the turning point in season 1. Mitch finally realizes, oh, okay, I am a piece of crap. Bradley, who was hit up by Mitch, he's like, I want you to interview me. They've already interviewed another one of Mitch's accusers, and Mitch is just trying to get his side of the story out. He really thinks he did nothing wrong. And when he goes to one of his other buddies who's had this similar attention, and that buddy is like, yeah, these people know what it is, Mitch had to be like, stop, buddy, I'm nothing like you. Everything was consensual. I'm nothing like you. Until Hannah's death, and he realizes, oh, maybe I'm more like you than I thought. So he hits Bradley up earlier in the season to get her to interview him, but Bradley backs out of it after Hannah's death. She's going to interview Hannah, but she backs out of after Hannah's death. She backs out of that. Chip is the fall guy in all of this. Everyone was complicit because they knew Alex and Mitch had even slept together. Mia and Mitch had this thing, and Mia was really thinking it was a love affair, which I still don't get why. At some point, sis realized you're a victim. And so they kind of put everything on Chip, and they try to fire Chip, which leads to a lot of people, his coworkers, being like, you should have spoke out more, which is what the higher ups were saying. Poor Chip. Everyone was complicit, but he was the fall guy. After Alex finds out that Bradley was going to interview Mitch and Hannah, she tries to double cross Bradley, and she's telling Daniel, hey, I will get you this position. We're going to get Bradley up out of her, even though she's the one that brought her in. But when Hannah dies, Alex is like, oh no, yeah, we were so complicit. So Bradley about to leave. She had enough of this network, this UBA network, and Alex is begging her to stay, and Bradley's like, why should I trust you? You're about to screw me. And so Alex is like, no, you're right. We should talk. So they go on air, and it's a very lengthy segment before they get cut off, but they go on air about accountability, how the network has failed them, how they're to blame, all of this and all of that, and they break the internet. And so they're being escorted away. And Corey, who is reveling it all because chaos, he's trying to figure he allowed it to happen. A lot of people allowed it to happen because they're supposed to be the quote unquote better people. And so Alex tells Bradley, I'll be here with you. Don't worry. We'll just stick together. And that's really season one. Corey's my favorite character of season one. He came off a little douchey at first, but he really is a mostly good guy with mostly good intentions. He's just hella chaotic and he loves it. Alex is just standard white woman, privileged white woman looking to break the patriarch until it, works for her. And yeah, aren't we all? But at the same time, she the type of feminism that's like, oh, that man he wouldn't get out the way for me on the sidewalk, but then would do the exact same thing and not get out of the way for a black woman or a woman of color on the sidewalk. That's her brand of feminism. Bradley's lack of filter is annoying, so she can't be saying everything. And it's like, you want the truth. I'm fighting for the truth. But it's like, sis, yes, but no. Do your job sometimes. Sometimes you can't just be yabbering off at the mouth and then go get information. Get information first, and then, you know, that's season one. Season two, COVID. Oh, yeah, season two. So it's been a few months since Alex and Bradley broke the internet, exposing their network. Alex left. She quit. She told Bradley I would be here, but then she left. So Bradley's sitting here trying to deal with the aftermath of it, and so was Corey. Mitch is hiding away in Italy. He really feels guilty, and he doesn't feel like he deserves redemption, which fair. But he's hiding away in Italy. The network does get Alex to come back, and she gets Chips to come back to be her second. And she and Bradley trying to make it work again. Corey is trying to turn the network around, including streaming. 2020 streaming gets big, so it's like, oh, we need money because they've already always had financial problems. So it's like we need money, so streaming. But the streaming site is not going as well as it should be. He's also dealing with the fallout of Hannah's death. So her dad is trying to shake them down, even though her dad doesn't care. He's like, oh, was she really a sexual assault victim, or was she just trying to get money? Because so like her dad. But they're trying to avoid a shakedown from him. Bradley starts dating a reporter, Laura, that Alex warns her to be wary of. Laura and Alex had an interview where Laura was picking and prodding at Alex, and so ever since then, she just does not have this love for her. And somehow that leads to Bradley being outed as they do explore her sexuality, but that leads to Bradley being outed. Yanko, Weatherman, deals with cancel culture and spirit animal. He has to apologize. So he calls the groundhog his spirit animal. I don't know why I'm quoting spirit animal. I'm sorry. I believe spirit animal. That has true, real connections to indigenous communities. I don't know why I'm quoting. I'm quoting cancel culture is what I mean to be quoting. Cancel culture. He has to apologize even when he doesn't want to. Yanko in season one was far better when his only storyline was dating a colleague. After Mitch, he shouldn't have been dating a colleague. And that colleague left after Hannah's death. She was very close to Hannah. And when Hannah died, she left and didn't return to the series thus far. But after Mitch, it was like it could be considered a power dynamic. But really, it would have been a power dynamic the other way because she's the rich one and he's not. But like, that was his as far as interesting storyline. Coming back with season two, he's like, oh, cancel culture and anti-woke, am I right? But don't worry, I'm not one of those guys. I'm just a scientist who knows that all these social constructs have been created and therefore they have no meaning. But they do have meaning. It was once created with no meaning, but now it has meaning. You can't just bypass that because it at one point didn't have meaning. It does now. So Yanko is a weirdo. He's a weirdo. He also punches someone over racist comments that they made about Stella. Stella's a new character brought in season two. She works directly under Corey. And so it's COVID, and so they're like, go back to China. And he's like, Yanko's like, she's Korean. And so Stella, grateful, still has to suspend him, which Yanko doesn't agree with. Daniel keeps getting looked over. In season one, he was talking to UBA's competitor about going over there, but ultimately he decided to stay. And no, he's still getting the same treatment, and so he leaves again for good. And then the actor came out and was like, yeah, they didn't ask me to come back for season three, which why? Because a lot of things they do with Nicole Bahari's character, they could have been doing with Daniel too. And like Daniel and Chris, who is Nicole Bahari's character, Christina, they could have been really close. And not just because they're Black people working there, somewhat because they're Black people working there, but also it would have been Daniel and Chris have a better connection than Mia and Chris, and certainly Yanko and Chris. So I don't know why, but he's gone and they don't ask him back. Mitch has a thing with an Italian woman that defends him. So Mitch is hiding away in Italy, and he's approached by these women who's like, "Hey, I know who you are. I know what you did." And so this Italian woman comes up and is like, "Hey, leave him alone. He's in isolation. The only one giving him attention is you." So they end up having a thing. But he still just doesn't believe he deserves redemption. The woman is like, "Hey, I want to." They go real close, but she's also like, "Hey, I want to mock interview you because I want to do this documentary and I want to see how good I am." So he allows that to happen, and they do get close, but ultimately he does not feel like he deserves redemption, which I hate. So he drives off a cliff. That's the end of his character arc. Like he just drives off a cliff. Like and they have a funeral for him, and Alex gets COVID, which apparently not as either she doesn't get COVID as bad, or Chip, who was staying with her to keep her company, doesn't get COVID as bad, and he was only staying there to keep her company, which she really should appreciate Chip way more than she did, which I'll try to come back to in season 3. Corey and Bradley are looking for her brother, who happens to be in a COVID lockdown hospital. And then Corey tells Bradley that he loves her. He's always taken a special interest in Bradley, and then they got close and friendly. And I guess they're going to develop that into something more because he loves her. And that's kind of season 2. I really missed some stuff because season 2 was just so hard to get through. I don't want to relive lockdown unless we actually go back to lockdown. I'm not trying to relive lockdown. This came out in 2021 or 2022, so it's like I don't need to relive that stuff. Like, so after the point, right? Like, please. So I missed a lot of stuff, but that is basically season 2. Um, Season 3, racial injustice, hacking of UBA, and the buying slash merging of UBA. So it's 2 years after lockdown. Alex is still in the morning news, but she also has a podcast, Alex Unfiltered, which is what they mainly focus on and less of her actually being on the morning show. She's still fighting for a seat at the table. Corey is thinking of selling UBA to a billionaire, Paul Marks, who's supposed to be the stand-in for like Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos and all these billionaires. Bradley is evening news now. She's not even morning news anymore. Like, it feel like they really lost the recipe. One, they try to hype it up like Bradley and Alex are so close and they have the sisterhood, which I've never seen, like ever seen. But her since season 1, it's just been until the point where they're just here. Like, Bradley's even evening news now. She's no longer with Laura. We'll come back to that. They have a flashback episode, which, side note, I'm really sick of flashback episodes. They do one every season, and and this is just for shows in general, I would honestly prefer you to do flashbacks every couple of scenes within a present episode rather than dedicate a whole episode to a flashback. Because what they'll do is they'll take the most interesting episode and leave it on a cliffhanger and then do the flashback and come back. And it's like, I don't care. Y'all alluding to all this stuff, but like, I don't care. Like, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe that's an unpopular opinion. I'm in the minority there. But if we're going to do flashbacks, I really would have you do flashbacks every few scenes or every few episodes rather than uh do an entire episode dedicated to a flashback. And that's for shows in general that I'm noticing now. Sometimes it works, sometimes it works. Most times I'm finding I don't care about the flashback episode. But keep it pushing. So Alex is trying to make deals with Sybil, the CEO. This is her company, to be at the table, but Sybil is mad at Alex because Alex was supposed to go get on this aircraft with Paul Marks and Corey, which was supposed to signify the beginning of their deal, but it ends up being Bradley going. Bradley and Alex end up switching places. Bradley goes on the spacecraft, and Alex goes to talk to a woman down in Texas or Mexico, I believe, who's fighting for her abortion rights, who doesn't want to talk to Bradley anymore. So Sybil runs to Corey and she's like, "You need to suspend Alex for that. We have lost this deal now, so you need to suspend Alex." Then there's a cyber attack where a whole bunch of information come out, performance reviews on Black and POC workers, how they're underpaid. There's a leaked sex tape of Laura and Bradley, and the hackers want 50 million within 48 hours. Corey trying to deal with it, wants to pay the ransom, but the other board members is like, no. So Alex faces the consequences of not going into space, and then she has her seasonal bitchiness about not getting her way. She's like, "Screw everyone here," and Bradley's like, "Hey, yo, when no one else was standing up for you here, I was. So remember that when you say all of that," which understandable. I'm skipping around because we don't need email episode by episode. You just need the main points. So one of the messages, information to come from the hack is Sybil's racist comments about Chris's hiring. She thought Chris was underqualified and should not be hired. And so everyone's the news station, competitor news stations are just eating it up. The fall of UBA, and everyone's trying to deal with the best way to do this. Sybil is like, "Oh, I need a chance to tell my story. Alex, you should interview me." Alex doesn't want to have anything to do with it, but she does tell Corey she should interview her to get ahead of the story. But she ends up offering the role to Alex. Everyone to Chris. Everyone is talking about what to do, and so and how to handle it and handle Chris. And so Chris is like, "I want to do it. Let me do it." So they let her do it. So the racist email that Sybil sent out about Chris's hiring, she called Chris Aunt Jemima, technically. She says, Aunt Jemima's on cereal boxes too, and no one's buying her anymore. So it's like, what are you talking about? So they have an interview. Mia also has to try to quell the staff, which, like, I don't like Mia. I don't fully like Mia, and I'm going to come back to why. Yanko is a trip with this social construct stuff. Race is a myth. If I have a drop of black blood in me, does that make me black? And Chip is like, dude, you're third generation Cuban. I don't know why you saying these weird racist talking points. Shut up. And so Chris storm out, not trying to hear that. Mia follows after her and basically tells her to go along and get along, which, yeah, but don't tell me that right now. Don't doubt your worth. And Chris has this line. Y'all, it speak to me. I never doubted my worth. I just didn't know other people did. Maybe I'm tripping. Maybe this is a reach, but it feels so cathartic to see Nicole Beharie taking on these racist powers that be who dared hire her to fill a quota and then throw her to the side because she filled the quota that they needed for her. Like, I might be tripping. It might be a reach, but this feels so cathartic. So in their interview, we also find out that Stella has a past with Paul Martin doesn't want to sell to him. And it's not the past that you think. I'll come back to that. So we have the interview. And so Sybil is trying to defend herself. Don't let this one joke is my legacy, my family's legacy. And somebody out there is gonna be like, it's the angry black woman beating up on a little old white lady. I remember when I posted a clip of that on Twitter, and then I said, I don't stand people, but like Nicole Beharie is a really good actress. I had somebody in my comments talk about she's no better than that other actress that she's up against. And it's like, did I say that? Did I say that? Like, so yeah, somebody out there's gonna be like, it's the angry black woman beating up on the little white lady, but like, we're not letting you off that easy, Sybil. So it's a tense interview, and Chris has several quotes that I'm gonna read off. Pearl Milling Company used the image of a black woman to sell a brand. What brand am I helping UBA to sell in your eyes? Chris to Sybil. Was I hired for a permanent anchor position because I'm black? And Sybil balks as Chris continues to show her worth and had the hoops that she had to jump through, several different interviews just to get the job in the first place, mock interviews, even though she's overqualified, meetings about her hair. Is that how you see me? Is that how you see us as Aunt Jemima? And so Sybil goes on that rant. Don't let this one stupid joke, boneheaded comment be my entire legacy. We don't give this opportunity to anyone, so you should be grateful that your job is so hard to get. Should be grateful? I don't think you meant to say that, Sybil. Or maybe you did. So it ends with Sybil's forced resignation, and Corey goes to Paul thinking that was the only thing standing in his way to selling to Paul Marks. And Paul was like, no, screw y'all. I don't want anything to do with y'all. So Corey now has to figure out another way to get money, which leads Stella to doing some very questionable things that she doesn't agree with. She felt so disgusted by doing those things, and it's like, yeah. Alex is the one to bring Paul back in. They go on this weird non-date, and basically she brings him back in, and they're very much going to be a thing, which I don't care. I did not see it. UBA swings it up in the Hamptons. We see Nicole Beharie dressed to the nines twice in this show, and it's like we should have way more of that in Sleepy Hollow. Like, oh, I think of Nicole Beharie dressed up as Beyonce, and how we only got maybe 5 minutes of that, and it's just like we should have had more of that. They should dress up more. We need more. Yanko and Chris, they have this little friendly-ish joke thing, and Yanko's a weirdo, and I just don't think Chris should. I don't think it would have been a her character arc to sit here and just be talking to this dude. Like, he is a weirdo. Bradley and Laura, who, like I said, they're no longer together. They have a moment, and they kind of miss each other. But Laura's like, "Are you and Corey messing around?" And Bradley kind of shoves it off because Corey and Bradley, they have this thing. And it's like, yes, there's the I love you that's in there, but there's also something else. Um, so I'll skip around some more because this is like, you don't need the episode, you need the main factors. So we have the flashback episode. Bradley, we see where everybody's on lockdown. Alex and Chip. Corey is at his Hampton house and he's meeting with Paul Marks for the first time. That's how he meets. Bradley and Laura are kicking it together. They have a little podcast and people start talking about the relationship that they might have. And it's all good for Bradley and Laura. I said Alex, Bradley and Laura, until her family gets brought up. Bradley's never really liked her family. And so Laura knows that. And she's basically agreeing with what Bradley is saying about her family. But Bradley feels some type of way, which about Laura agreeing, which fair, but also not. Cause like, your family is. So when Bradley's mom passes away due to COVID, and her brother and her mom have been very anti-vax, anti-COVID, anti-mask. Bradley blames Laura, talking about, you separated me from my mom. I was here with you and not with her. You're the reason that we're separated, and you treat me like this white trash project. And Laura's like, girl, you tripping. Don't sit here and project. So they break up, and then Bradley goes to January 6th. She's there recording at January 6th. She sees Hal there. And so she erases the footage of Hal and she goes to Corey to clean it up. And so that's their little secret and why Bradley deflects when Laura brings up Corey. We also get, who else did we get? We didn't get much of Chris. Chris wasn't even in there during the past flashback. We could have at least seen some of the hoops that she, or inquiring about the job of her as a track star. So Alex doesn't like Paul at first. This is back to the present, I believe. Alex doesn't like Paul at first, but she did bring him back into the deal. She wants to interview him, so she interviews him. Stella, whose past with Paul is that she was working for Paul. He stole one of her ideas and then kind of kicked her to the side. And so Alex finds out about that. She interviews Paul about it. She says, did you know that this person, it affected them so much that they thought about self-harming? Paul knows who she's talking about. So he goes and he apologizes to Stella and offers her Corey's job. He ends up screwing over Corey, especially as he gets closer to Alex. It's like, hey, yo, what if we buy UBA, sell it, and then start our own thing? Alex, who's trying to have a place at the table, she's like, oh, okay, yeah, sure. Forget everybody else over here, huh? Well, they'll come with me. Girl, ain't nobody following you. Also, Stella, who has this loyalty to Corey because the W knows, like, they offered me your job. Paul is screwing you over. He's not a good person to be trusted. So that's their backstory. Paul and Stella's, that's their backstory. Bradley and Corey, they've had this awkwardness ever since the I love you, but also since Hal. So Hal ends up wanting to turn himself in, and Bradley's like, no, you shouldn't do that because you have a family now. You'll mess up your family. I already lied for you, so that'll mess me up. So she brings on a January 6th rioter to like sympathize and humanize, and it's like, girl, you turning your daddy for drunk driving at 12. You really turn him in. Let him do what he needs to do. So that also happened, which prompts Hal to be like, okay, fine, I won't, and he runs. They also cover the leaking of the overturning of Roe v. Wade. So we see Nicole Beharie, we see Chris to the nines in this outfit, the look, slay, point blank, period. But when that happens, she has a rant in the bathroom about it, and then she writes in lipstick on the mirror, abort the court, and takes a picture of it. Chris is really the character they wanted Bradley to be. Like, Bradley dropped that she had an abortion on air and they got sponsors pulled, but that was it. Chris says abort the court and she gets blood thrown on her. Like, they didn't throw blood on Bradley. Chris was really the character y'all wanted Bradley to be. But she's receiving backlash from that. Mia, like I said, I don't really fully care for her. She's like, oh, Chris is so selfish. She made that whole thing about her. And Stella's like, girl, she said what everybody wanted to say. She probably shouldn't have, but she did. And Yanko also has a comment about her. So somebody defaces a church with that message. And Chris is like, oh my God. And Yanko is like, what do you think was going to happen? He apologizes for that. But like, he is a weirdo. Why are y'all pairing her with him? Like, Legit. Why are y'all pairing her with him? Also, Alex and Paul are dating now, and a tabloid gets a photo of them, so they have to figure out how to handle it. They also make Chris into this social justice warrior. So I like it until I don't, but I'm gonna come back to that. Stella's friend, who was supposed to be helping Stella bring down Paul, goes missing. And so Stella goes to Bradley and she's like, I need you to interview this friend. I need you to find out what happened to her. Bradley is wants to help, but at the same time, she's fearful because the last time she was trying to do something like that, it was Hannah in season 1, and that didn't turn out well. Um, so she agrees, which leads to Paul blackmailing Alex about Laura and her brother Hal. Laura and Bradley, they got back together, but Laura was very curious about Bradley and Corey, so she went snooping through Bradley's emails, thinking that she was going to find something romantic about Corey, and ended up finding January 6th. So she calls her a hypocrite and says, "We're done for good, go." Paul somehow finds out about this. I guess he's tapped her phone. He's been watching her. And so he's like, yeah, Laura knows too. And I just wonder what that would mean for you. So he shuts that down. Bradley quits on air. She quits. And this is after Alex talks to Bradley about quitting UBA to start something new with Paul. Bradley is like, he's not a good guy. And Alex is just being so obtuse to it all. I don't know why. The romance is just not cute at all. So Bradley quits on air, and it's like, oh my god, we have to figure out what to do. We have to figure out what to do. Alex finally goes to talk to Bradley and realizes that Paul actually is a weirdo. She has confirmation that Paul is watching Bradley, and so they are right about to close the deal. And like I said, Paul screwed Corey too. He's gonna buy UBA and then break it down, sell it, and start something new. So he actually fires Corey. So Corey's out of a job now too. And so they're right about to close the deal when Alex, after finding out about what Paul has done, goes to the board and is like, instead of letting Paul Marks buy it, let's merge it with our main competitor. And so she goes into the meeting with Paul there and says that. So Paul's like, oh, what are you doing? And so that ends up happening. They end up agreeing to merge instead of selling to Paul because none of them really like Paul, but that's how that goes. And Paul and Alex break up. She has already got his stuff packed. They break up, it's gone. Chip also is fired by Alex because Chip is also like, yo, you're doing a lot of stuff that's maybe not what you should be doing. And you really need to listen to me more. And Alex is like, oh, it's all about me. It's all about me. I've done more for this. And Chip is like, yo, I was here for you. I'm the one that's really doing all of the stuff for you. But you say you don't need me. You say it's all you. You don't need no. Good luck, Chuck, because I ain't doing nothing else for you. He leaves. Mind you, she asked him back after season 1 when he was the scapegoat and he left and they wanted her back and she came back, but she wasn't going to come back without Chip. Put some respect on Chip's name. So now we have all these people out of a job and the potential merging of UBA with one of their main competitors. Also, while Paul was still in the scene, he leaked information about Corey and Bradley to tabloids. Like I said, Corey and Bradley have always been close, but it could be a little questionable sometimes. So Paul leaked it in a way that was like, is there something going on between the two? And after Mitch, no one needs that kind of attention. So Bradley and Corey have all these meetings about nothing inappropriate happen. Bradley and her brother end up turning themselves into the FBI after Bradley quits. And so we have that. And then that's pretty much season 3. Alex is there with Bradley when she turns herself in. She's like, good job, you're doing the right thing. And then she and her brother walk into the building. That's pretty much it. Corey is sitting here walking down the street, a free man, because he doesn't have a job anymore. We also meet Corey's mom, who's also chaotic, so it makes sense that he loves chaos. But that's about season 3. So my opinion, season 1 was the best. Is it actually good? Season 1 was the best. Season 2, like I said, was hard to get into because I did not want to relive COVID. And I don't know if I cared that much. Season 3 was all right. It was still a little hard to make it through. And there's always news to be told. And questions to be answered about Bradley and her brother, Alex and Bradley, who they play up like they have this friendship, close knit sisterhood, but in actuality, they don't. And not even just because they've been separated these seasons, but because like they don't really, really like each other like that. I don't think they do. Like it doesn't, we didn't get that moment where they were really bonding before a betrayal and then their bond again and then a betrayal. Like I don't really see that. But of course, questions about Alex and Bradley, Bradley's future, Alex's future, the future of UBA and its merging, Corey, but also this felt like an ending. So it's already been renewed for season 4. But if it hadn't, I would be fine with the ending. I actually don't even know if I want to come back to season 4. Like it would be fine for me if it didn't get one. Like I said, I feel like they lost the recipe. Alex and Bradley just kept separating, and it's supposed to be about these two with this friendship, but Bradley's on the evening news, and then she quits and then turns herself into the FBI. Alex is on morning news, but she actually has a podcast, Alex Unfiltered, which they focus more on. She was about to sell the network in general. Like it felt like they lost the recipe. Bradley was all right until like the humanizing of January 6th. Like, sis, be serious. You turned your daddy in. Go ahead and let your brother do what he needs to do. Shouldn't have been there in the first place. Alex was aggravating. Standard patriarchal, let's beat the patriarch white woman I want a place at the table until it suits me. White feminism brand thing. And I'm not with it. Corey, I love, but he is so his undoing. But I really do like his character. I really do. Chip is mostly cool. Don't have any real problems with him, I don't think. Put some respect on his name. Mia seems like that black woman who did not hang around with a black woman. Another important note about Mia, real quick, she does have a little love interest, a little photographer boo, Andre. And they have a disagreement. They were in lockdown together, and then he goes off drinking when he finds out about Mitch and why she still defends Mitch. So he goes off drinking at several different bars and comes back, and she's like, "Get out of here. Like, no way you sitting here coming back at we in lockdown." So she's been sleeping in her office. But she sends him to Ukraine to get some photos because that war starts popping off. She doesn't know if he made it out safe, but she does know he got the photos. And then we find out that he is out safe. He just hasn't communicated with her, but they reconnect. But Mia, no shade to the actress, but the character I don't like. She's like this black woman didn't hang around with other black women. She acting like her and Mitch had a love affair. And it's like at some point, that would have been fine in season 1, but at some point acknowledge that you are a victim, that what y'all had was not love. Also sitting here making all these excuses. Yeah, you have to go along to get along in certain places, but she's making all these excuses. But then at the same time, she's like, "Oh, we're gonna do this. We're gonna play this interview of Chris and Sybil and push in on Sybil's uncomfortness. Like she's making up for the fact that she didn't speak out. But it's like she's weird. She's a weird. You definitely know she didn't have a lot of black girlfriends at one point in her life. Stella's pretty cool. No real issues with her. Like I said, Daniel and Chris should have been together, like not romantically, but like Daniel should have been there so he and Chris could talk more as opposed to Parenthood with Mia or Parenthood certainly with Weirdo. Sorry, Yanko. Like Daniel should have been there. Yanko's a weirdo. Now let's talk about the reason I started watching the show in the first place. Nicole Bahari. She ate episode 3 up, didn't leave any crumbs. And like I said, maybe this is a reach, but it did feel a little side eye to Sleepy Hollow, taking on these higher powers, these racist higher powers who would dare hire you to fill their quota and then throw you to the side once you filled it. Like, it might be a reach, but it felt so cathartic. Like, I messed with it and her speaking up for herself until I didn't. I don't agree with making her the social justice warrior. Like, y'all only paid her to be in a couple of episodes for like 3 minutes per every few episodes. Let her just exist. Let her just exist. Like, I really didn't like that all the time. She had all this information that she didn't know, and comments about herself that she didn't know leaked, and everyone else was talking about how to handle it, and she handled it. But that didn't mean it had to be her entire personality. Every couple of minutes, we saw her for every couple of episodes. On the other hand, like I said, she was really the character y'all wanted Bradley to be. Then Parenthood with Yanko was weird to me. I just don't feel like social warrior Justice Chris would be willingly kicking it with him if she didn't have to, and that's why Daniel should have been there, so she at least had somebody else to kick it with. Now here's the kicker. Here's the kicker. Chris is leaving UBA. Like, she's leaving and they're trying to get her to stay, but I think she's set on leaving. So Nicole Bahari might not even be in season 4 if I decided that I wanted to watch season 4. I feel duped. After struggling to make it through season 2 and somewhat struggling to make it through season 3, she telling me she might not even be there. I feel duped. But I do hope Nicole Bahari moves on to bigger and better things, and I certainly hope that she wins this Best Supporting Actress award. Let them know, sis, you were not the one to be played on. Let them know. But so far, 6.5 to 7.5 out of 10. I really don't know if I'll be back for season 4, especially if Nicole Bahari isn't going to be in there. That's what's on TV. Let's kick it into our final third segment, Unpopular Opinions, where I give my commentary on an unpopular opinion that I have. So today, my unpopular opinion is these teachers going online to vent their frustration about these students and these parents are valid. And that in itself isn't even an unpopular opinion, which, side note, am I the one that's seeing as all these unpopular opinions, but then they be the most popular normalized opinions? And it's like, am I tripping, or do y'all need to learn what unpopular opinion is? Anyway, that in itself is not an unpopular opinion. But Miss Teach, who went on TikTok to air out that parent phone call, I can't fully condemn like others have been doing. Rather, I have mixed feelings about it. Because on one hand, it's like security issues. Like, is that even like, can you do that legally? Is that against the law for you to sit here? And I think she might have mentioned his name. I'm not fully certain. But can you legally post a phone call between you and another person, especially in the context of the subject matter, and the other person don't know? Did you say anything to identify that student? Even you posting it, can you be used to identify that student? Security issues. However, when we talk about publicly shaming, can't say I'm fully against it. Kinda understand. Like, I'm of the mind that these students and certainly these teachers need to be more publicly shamed. And I know what does public shaming do when they have shown that they don't care, but I also think it's more than that. These teachers are fed up with student and parent. Like, they are fed up, and yet people want to act like students, like teachers are so exaggerating when they say that these students don't want to learn and they're just hard to work with these days. Like, it's not the teacher's responsibility to teach you basic human decency and stuff like that. Yeah, you can learn that in school, and you should honestly be learning that in school, and other things too, like maybe finances and taxes and whatnot. But that teacher is there to teach you a specific subject. And it's one thing, I'm not talking about students with certain needs, obviously. And also, if you can't sit an entire lecture, more than understandable, but go to the teacher and be like, hey, yo, can we come up with something? Can I stand in the back and can we do something? Because I'm trying to pay attention, but it's like I can't. But that shouldn't be on the teacher to initiate that always. Like, you should teach your student how to communicate better, how to have that basic respect, not the teachers. That's you. You should do that. Um, I just that's a you thing. You should be better. Instead of sitting here acting like, oh, the teacher trying to be funny when you were the one trying to be funny, or else sitting here acting like, look, I'm trying to work. So is the teacher trying to teach other students that possibly maybe don't even want to learn. Oh, I thought they had teachers who could teach and who could deal with that. I thought they had parents who could deal with what it meant to be a parent. So I guess we both wrong. Like, I will empathize and sympathize with teenagers on many levels, but this is not one of them. So all those, oh, they're just a kid, they're underage, miss me with it, I don't care. Now, we're not talking about middle schoolers here, which that one teacher that came on and he was talking about his 7th grade students or whatever, having a lack of wanting to learn. I think he did that in a very good way that didn't cross any boundaries or even question crossing any boundaries. But these students, these are like 16-year-olds. You should know better at 16. There are just certain things that you should know, underage or not. Your brain's still developing, but there are just certain things that you should know. This is not one of them. This is coming from somebody who's had their education interrupted several times by class clowns. Like, but my class clowns apparently ain't got nothing on these class clowns who just don't want to learn. And I find it so funny how y'all want to sit here and talk all crazy to the teacher, like the teacher is exaggerating when COVID hit, lockdown hit, and y'all had to be the teacher, or at the very least, y'all had to get these students in online class, and you couldn't even do that. and then you send it back to in-person, think that they could do that. That's not in their job description. Just because it's their profession, that's not in their job description. Like, yeah, we can have a conversation about how to make learning fun and effective, but like also this is you as a parent to do that. These students today, from what I'm hearing, are rough. And y'all need to stop trying to sit here and, I don't want to say stop trying to be a friend, but y'all need to take a stand that's like, okay, I'm not, friend right now. I'm parent, and you need to be listening to what these people are trying to tell you. And if you have problems, we need to find ways to communicate. Like, I'm not saying the teacher was fully right, because security issues. But also, did y'all see the way that mama was talking to the teacher? No doubt that student talking to the other teachers like that, and to the parent themselves. Like, y'all need to check y'all students. Like, it doesn't have to be authoritarian check, but y'all need to get y'all students in check, and appropriate ways to communicate with the teach, so that they can handle stuff that doesn't call you out of work, but doesn't stop their work too. Like, I can't fully condemn her. I have mixed feelings about it. I have mixed feelings. That's my unpopular opinion. And that's Kaya's commentary. If you like this episode, be sure to like this episode. Give it a thumbs up. Hit the like/follow subscribe button. Let me know any of your thoughts and opinions down below in the comments. Be respectful. We can have a conversation with one another, but only if we are respectful. But certainly let me know any of your thoughts and opinions on any of the segments that I have. Don't forget to share and follow. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. See you next time.